The film is called Atopic, and the main character is going through topical steroid withdrawal. So I'm going to bring some friends on the screen to talk about the realities of going through TSW. I'm going to read off their bios so you know exactly who we're talking to. Kathryn Tullos is a registered nurse from Houston, Texas, with a BA in communications. She was a bedside nurse in pediatrics for 7 years before taking a break to stay home with her 4 kids. In mid-2013, her son suffered severely from topical steroid withdrawal syndrome for 18 months due to steroid creams prescribed for his eczema. Kathryn used the experience with her son and her medical background to try to help others navigate this often misunderstood iatrogenic disease. She joined the ITSAN board in 2015 and helped write and relaunch the ITSAN website. She stepped down briefly in 2018, but returned to take on the role as ITSAN president in October 2019. Kathryn's main goals are 1, petition for labeling changes on the drug insert for topical corticosteroids, and 2, to connect patients with doctors who understand how to diagnose, treat, and ultimately prevent this debilitating disease. In her free time, she loves to go on dates with her husband, sing show tunes with her kids, Netflix binge, and memorize the Hamilton soundtrack. Welcome, Kathy. Thank you for joining me. I can't hear you right now. 1 second. Where are my earbuds so that I can? I do not see them. I mean, you can. Thank you. Sorry about this, Kathy. 1 second.
Hey, take your time.
All right. Now I can hear you.
Hello.
Hello. Wonderful. All right. Now I can hear what we're doing. How are you doing?
I'm great because you were amazing.
That was thank you so much.
Sitting here like, oh my gosh. That was so good.
That's what we like to hear.
Oh, it was great.
Thank you.
Sharing your talent. Amazing.
Thank you. So we're going to bring the rest of the panelists in now. Linette Roungchun, I'm so sorry. Linette told me how to pronounce her name, and I feel like I'm messing it up already. And here she goes. I'm sorry, girl. Can you say your last name for us?
Roungchun.
Roungchun. Thank you. She is the director, producer, co-creator of The Itch Factor, fellow skin warrior, and performer who has been sharing her skin story on social media for the past 2.5 years. She was a guest speaker at the Four Seasons Redefine Unthinkable 2020, is a content creator for Health Union's atopicdermatitis.net, has had her story shared in various blogs and news outlets around the world, and has done collaborations, interviews, and partnerships with the National Eczema Association, ITSAN, Patient Power, the Annenberg Center for Health Sciences, and many more. With her experience in the performing arts, her partner's expertise in storytelling and filmmaking, and the talent of this international community of itchy artists, The Itch Factor continues to empower, inspire, and uplift. Go ahead and welcome Linette in the chat.
Yeah.
Next, we're bringing in Rakhi Roy. Rakhi is an actress turned dietitian whose own battle with eczema flare-ups on screen prevented her from auditioning and booking more work. Her philosophy to heal her skin shifted when she started making shifts in her nutrition in her 20s under the guidance of a dietitian. This led her to pursue a master's in dietetics and nutrition so she could provide a gut-centered food freedom approach to sufferers of food allergies and chronic skin conditions to support their skin from within. When Rakhi isn't seeing clients in her virtual practice for eczema, psoriasis, or TSW, she is usually wearing many hats, working in corporate wellness and consulting as a clinical dietitian in the VA long-term care behavioral health hospitals, working with eating disorders, the Department of Health, and writing and speaking for various online outlets. Thank you for joining us, Rakhi.
Thank you, Lauren. I just want to say the entire TSW community is very proud of you after watching that.
Thank you so much. I knew you guys would feel that song. Kelly Barta is the state advocacy lead and special projects manager for the Allergy and Asthma Network. Prior to serving the health nonprofit sector, Kelly worked as a contract musician, as a contract musician. After TSW left her bedridden for over 1.5 years, Kelly felt an obligation to help those who were suffering as she had. She joined ITSAN as a member of the board of directors in 2016 and went on to become the executive director and then ITSAN's president in 2018. In 2020, she transitioned into working full-time with Allergy and Asthma Network, AAN. In addition to her work with AAN, she serves as president of the Coalition of Skin Diseases and also on the Eczema Advocacy Advisory Board for Global Skin. Kelly is an impassioned voice for the voiceless. Her hope is that through collaboration between patients, physicians, industry, regulatory agencies, and policymakers, the understanding of eczema and advancements in treatment will help end suffering and create a better tomorrow for all those in the eczema community. Kelly currently lives in Atlanta, Georgia, with her 2 sons. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here.
Thank you. And I just need to ask my team, is Janelle here? She is, wonderful. Well, Janelle is a native of Brooklyn, New York, with cultural ties to Panama and the Caribbean. She is known for her creativity, taking staples from the African diaspora, mainly Latino, Caribbean, and Southeast Asian culture, and making them healthy. While transitioning from the typical American diet to a healthier lifestyle may be difficult, Chef Pitterson streamlines the process by giving clients easy techniques on how to live a 360 healthy lifestyle. She is a private chef, caterer, and restaurant consultant. With degrees in business administration, clinical nutrition, and formal culinary education from the French Culinary Institute, now International Culinary Center in New York City, she creates organizational structures for restaurants and budding small businesses by providing kitchen site assessments, menu creations, and implementing cooking techniques internationally. Understanding that most businesses never actualize success without a strong organizational hierarchical system, she implements business strategies to ensure fiscal and organizational success. Hey, Janelle. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, to kick it off, I know I just read all of your bios, but I would love to hear all of your TSW history and how it relates to the work that you do now. And I know that some of that was covered in your bios, so give us whatever was not in your bio. So we can start off with Kathy.
Thank you for that. So the question is our TSW kind of backstory, right?
Yes.
So my son, this was in 2013, he was 4. He had been on topical steroids to treat his eczema for 3.5 years, since he was 6 months old. And for those 3.5 years, they worked pretty great. And then we started to kind of hit a brick wall where first his eczema was kind of spreading, and then it was, so yeah, now it's in more places. And then it was, we had to treat more often with it working just less and less. Then he started to just start stinging. So just new weird symptoms he never had before, like to bath water. I mean, to nothing. It wasn't to anything that would normally sting. And so just like, this is really bizarre. My background is as a registered nurse in pediatrics. So I knew that I was treating him appropriately. I know that in this community, we like to get that thrown at us, that we're treating inappropriately or using our steroids, misusing, and no, that's not what happened. And so, I started just Googling things as we do. And the first thing I Googled was steroid resistance, because that's what it looked like. It's like, this isn't working anymore. I know I'm using right. I'm using more on more areas, upping the potency. And I found terms I hadn't heard before. It kind of looks like similar to your story: topical steroid addiction, topical steroid withdrawal. Then I asked on Facebook at the time, in National Eczema Association forum, actually, and somebody in there said, yes, I've heard of this, and my child has this, and directed me toward ITSAN. And so that's the first I heard of that. And when I went there, it was just like, I know in my soul, this is what my kid has. Absolutely no doubt. I took him to every specialist known to man to rule everything else out. Everything was ruled out. So I just kind of went with it. And little by little, the 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But he started to clear up. it is like a gut punch when you start to clear up and then you have a flare, but, his trajectory was still really good. And, especially when you see your before and after pictures. So once I knew that that's what he had, then I kind of threw myself in to advocacy in 2015 and joined the Eczema board and kind of haven't looked back because I just don't want anyone else to have our experience where they have no idea what's going on with them and nobody in the medical community is supporting them. So that's really where I'm rallying right now, is to be able to get people to get properly diagnosed and get good care.
Right. Thank you, Kathy. Lots of similarities to my story, as I'm sure lots of similarities to most of our stories. Linette, why don't you share your TSW background and how that relates to your work now?
Of course. So I went through, and I'm still currently going through TSW since I was a child. I first reacted to it when I was 3 years old, when it was first applied to me. Everything cleared, and then it came back with a vengeance. And because topical steroids are really the only, besides oral steroids, topical steroids, immunosuppressants, blah, 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 as far as the therapies to treat your skin, basically on and off my entire life, I used increasingly stronger steroids and or Elidel and stuff like that. So what I've always craved growing up as a child, as a young adult, as an old adult, I always wanted that support. I'm a very social person, and it's so difficult to be a very social person, as most of the world can relate to now with the pandemic. To shut a social person away at home and to be quiet and not talk to anyone and to hide yourself is a very difficult thing. So that's why the itch factor was born. I just knew, I was like, I can't be the only person that's like singing at home and wanting to perform on stage as I would normally do, as your video showed so well. Oh my God, Lauren, I was like, everything I totally related to, obviously. And I was like, that's why we have to give our fellow warriors, no matter how bad their skin is, no matter where they are in their journey, a voice. And we want to give them this platform. And that's why I fight so hard for it, because I know those days when like your video, like you wake up, you're all crusty, you're still going to auditions, and auditions are really stressful and everything. And then you're so worried about how you look, but to another level compared to normal people. It's just debilitating. And so why do we only get to perform when we look good? So that's why the H Factor was formed. That's why I worked so hard to advocate as much as possible, help anyone who's trying to get the word out, because it is so important. And there are some people who are just afraid to show their skin, and that's totally fine. But for some reason, I'm one of those people that's like, look at me, this is what I look like without makeup and all terrible and everything. And I just want you to see the truth of TSW and how, again, it can be debilitating, really take your life away. So that's why, I've just always craved that social connection and support, and just want to be a performer. I've always been a performer my whole life, and I didn't want it to stop just because of TSW. So that's why I do what I do today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Linette. Rakhi, can you share your story with us?
Yes, thank you. So like you, Lauren, I actually started in theater and film, and it was because I had to stop going to auditions because I couldn't stare at myself in the camera any longer, that I was like, okay, let me do something that will help me support my health and like help others, because I was doing all those diet changes that you were mentioning, and I was confused. I developed almost an eating disorder because I was scared. So I knew that I wanted to help people just nourish their bodies and find food freedom, rather than doing all these crazy elimination diets, and supporting their overall wellness and their health. Now, the crazy thing is, I didn't actually identify with the diagnosis of TSW probably until last year. I started symptoms in about 2017. I always still thought it was severe eczema because I was using Topic, which is an immunosuppressant. So that's the other thing a lot of people in the community might not identify with the diagnosis of topical steroid withdrawal, because they're thinking it's just topical steroids. But as I'm talking to some other people are saying they're getting similar symptoms with immunosuppressants. So we do need more research to understand what's going on there. And when I was working in the hospitals in Miami, I was doing a lot of hand washing, and that's when I actually reached for the steroids. So it wasn't until like a 10-year gap from taking steroids when I was younger that I started using steroids just on my hands, and it was hydrocortisone that I started off with. So it was just over the counter, and my hands were just being torn up. So now I really do believe it's just, you need to protect the skin barrier. Really, most importantly, is like what's helped me. So that's kind of where I'm at. I would say I'm healed from topical steroid withdrawal, or TSW. So yeah.
Thank you, Rakhi. I'm actually working with Rakhi right now. She's my nutritionist, and I believe Linette is as well.
Yes. Working on skin barrier stuff with Linette, and working on food freedom with you.
Yes.
Want to include everything.
Definitely. Kelly, can you tell us your story?
Sure. So I was diagnosed as a young child with eczema, probably around 4 or 5 years old. And it continued to get worse as I got older into my middle school years. And that's really when I started to use topical steroids. I did that and managed my skin for 26 years. And as Kathy mentioned, I had to up the potencies throughout time just in order to manage those rashes, and they continued to spread to different areas of my body. I didn't stop using steroids because of my skin. I actually stopped using them because I was developing all sorts of food sensitivities and allergies, like really crazy allergies, like stick my hand in my purse and come out with hives, or sit in my car, with bare skin touching my seats, and now I have hives everywhere. And it just, I was having a lot of questions that needed answers, and my doctors were not giving them to me, unfortunately. So I started to research myself and found a study out of Canada that talked about using a better barrier cream on your skin so you can lessen the use of steroids, because I found, yes, steroids are correlated with a heightened allergic response. So I started to do that, and little did I know I was weaning myself off of these medications. I did not even know that I was dependent on them. I did not know the inner damage that had taken place. But when I stopped completely, within 2 days, my skin started to burn and itch like nothing else. And if you've gone through TSW, you know what I'm talking about. But I stayed on the couch after just a day of stopping completely. Stayed on the couch all night long. I couldn't sleep. I was breathing like I was in childbirth. I was in that much pain. And I thought, what in the world is going on with me? I started Googling, like many of us do. Came across Eczema, and it was like, you have your aha moment. Oh my gosh, I have the history of all of these things to set me up for this condition. I'm starting to experience these symptoms. Within a week, my face blew up like a chipmunk, and then I started getting this rash that started out as splotches and covered my entire body until I was red from top to bottom, burning, itching, oozing skin. I was bedridden for a year and a half like that, like a burn victim. I lived between my bed and the bathtub, my bed and the bathtub. You talked about insomnia, Lauren. That's exactly how it was. You're up the entire night. Sometimes you can sleep for a couple hours in the morning, but it is absolute hell. And the way that it affects your family, you can't work a job, you can't take care of your kids, you have no social life, you have to change everything that you're eating. It's completely debilitating and causes so much suffering. Initially, I thought, well, I'm a healthy person. I'm going to get through this. It'll be a matter of months and I'll be back on my feet. But it stretched into years. And at that time, I realized I can't just move on and get on with my life when I'm healed. I really feel an obligation and compelled to do something to help this community. Because when I was stuck sitting there in bed without the support that I needed someone who was on the other side to be a voice for those who had no voice. And so that's really what propelled me into the world of advocacy. It was just one door started to open after another. It really wasn't how I saw my life playing out, but there is just such a great unmet need in this community. And so my passion with Kathy is to make sure that we're bringing this to the decision makers and people who can really change the standard of care for eczema and help prevent this condition from happening at all. So thanks so much for having me, Lauren. This is an amazing work that you're doing. We were chatting privately amongst ourselves, watching them backstage, like, oh my gosh, I'm ready to start ugly crying about this, because you really can connect with what you're talking about. This is an amazing work, so thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the work that you're doing to change policy and the labels on the medication and all of that, because that's really what all of this work is for, so that other people don't have to go through what we went through.
Absolutely.
Yes. I just want to acknowledge we're a little over time tonight, but I know that there's a lot of important things that we want to talk about. So we're going to wrap up this panel discussion soon, but I do want to actually ask you guys some questions. So Janelle, can you give us your brief TSW history?
I'll do it quickly. Hi, everyone. It's so amazing to be here. I wanted to give a little skin because if you're part of this community, you know that skin is not something that we show. It's hiding. So I've been on this journey for about, I had eczema at the age of 3. I've been on this journey kind of ever since. I've had extreme, severe eczema for about 30 years. I realized, like, for my side, we're going to talk about food, nutrition, emotional health, because that's a very big part of it. Adrenal fatigue, or because that's a interesting word. I very much lost all color to me. I was a color of volcanic ash. I lost all my hair. I was bedbound also for 7 months in my TSW experience. I did get to see Dr. Marvin Rappaport. I don't know if anybody has heard of him in Beverly Hills. And he was a great support system initially. And I realized that the journey really is with nutrition, emotional health, at least for me, and environmental health. So thank you so much for having me here. Like, my story is your stories. Every single person here, I very much have had every part of it. So I won't hold us up. I'll keep the train moving. When it comes to health, nutrition, food, let's talk about it.
Well, since you brought that up, I'll jump right to this question. It's for Janelle and Rakhi. I know online a lot of people debate about what the perfect diet is to heal the skin or exactly what you need to do. And I believe that it's a personal journey for everybody because people are healing all sorts of ways. So I just want to hear from Janelle and Rakhi, what is a skin healing diet?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead. So I actually am on the wound care team in some of my nursing homes. And I say, first and foremost, make sure you're getting enough energy. So calories and protein is really important. And then I say, then the next thing would be just eating a whole foods diet. Balancing protein, fats, and fiber is what I find also is really, really important. A lot of times people, when they are going through TSW, they eliminate so much that their skin actually does become worse because they might end up having so many deficiencies. So I think everything in balance, and it's less about what you eat and more so I found in how you eat and how you digest your food. I'm finding there's definitely that connection, and more research is coming out with like leaky skin and leaky gut, and skin barrier is really important. So if you can, and I think Kelly said that, it's like all of a sudden you start to have all these random sensitivities that you were not having before. And I think when you start to protect your most outer barrier, that's like the gatekeeper to your immune system. When your skin starts to heal, your food sensitivities hopefully will also improve. And that's what I see too. So long-term, I tell everybody we can reach food freedom. Really, we just gotta get you on the right path, get enough calories, protein, all the nutrients from fruits and vegetables.
Thank you. Janelle.
My approach, I have a master's in clinical nutrition as well, and I'm a chef, so my approach is a little different. I come from, obviously have a little bit more melanation, so there are things that for people who have a little bit more is a little different. I've noticed we've had conversations about protein intake. Every fruit, every vegetable has protein in it. Fats, very important. But I think for me and how I help people primarily with sensitivities, because that's, as a private chef, that's primarily my client base, is to be able to understand what's happening within yourself. It's not a one-stop system, what's happening for one person and the other person is not going to. If you're a person of color, the first thing somebody will tell you is, girl, get some shea butter, put some Vaseline on it or get some shea butter. And I can tell you stories with some shea butter and some Vaseline that is not always helpful, but it is a beautiful, as you discussed, barrier so that it can actually trap in all the beautiful moisture that we have. As far as how to help the body heal, with food, my approach is first understanding if you have any sensitivities, because your body becomes much more so. So have you gone to an allergist? Do you know what that looks like for you? We need baseline things before we start eliminating everything. Where I like, so are you allergic to dairy, wheat, all the good stuff that usually the factors that we, the elimination factors that most people take out of their diet. So that's my approach first. I want to understand where you are, what you've been eating. I go into your pantry. We're going to go in, and then how, of course, your gut health, the foods that you've been eating, and are you sensitive to it? Because 95% of the people are actually sensitive to the foods that they're consistently eating. And we have something called, like, you know, you hear muscle memory working out, you have digestive memory as well. So this is why you have like, oh, I'm craving this. Well, and yeah, absolutely. You probably are. So finding the little things that your body like needs, like if you're craving chocolate, we understand why your body needs magnesium, right? So just understanding what the little details that your body is telling you now and how to assist in actually healing for you, because everyone has their own journey in this. Everyone.
I see someone in the comments saying, don't forget the cocoa butter. I know that's right.
Smooth skin, honey.
So a lot of these questions I was going to ask you all, we've actually answered in sharing our TSW histories. But I do have a question for Kathy, because when I first started topical steroid withdrawal, I had no idea what was happening. And it actually took me around like 8 months to even find ITSAN and find the term topical steroid withdrawal. So that was around 2015. So I would just love to know, how has ITSAN grown in the past 6 years? And how are you reaching more people now?
Thanks for that question. So in 2015 is when we relaunched the website. So that's funny. That's when you found it. Because when I found it in 2013, it was kind of more bloggish, I would say. It was new. Everything was new. It was a small group of people. We branched out a lot. So, and now we're trying to rework the website and get the SEO, search engine optimization. We're asking people what words you're searching for, and then we're trying to get that in there, because everybody kind of searches for different things. Like how I searched for steroid resistance, that's what it looked like to me, and other people are just doing symptoms, burning or scaling or different things. So we're trying to update on the website end. We're also being a lot more aggressive in social media, particularly Instagram. I think at the beginning, there's just like a certain generation of volunteers who was very Facebook heavy, and we've gotten some more, I would say, millennials on board to help us reach our Insta crew. There's a whole Instagram world out there that we discovered, and so we're trying to reach out and repost their stories and things like that. And so that's kind of how we're trying to reach people. And then we're trying to work with industry people and things like that, trying to get funding so that we can, reach out more, publish and things like that, so that we can be easily searchable when you're looking for research. Because that's another problem. There's 20 million terms used to describe the same thing when you're doing peer-reviewed research. And so just kind of getting this umbrella term and trying to publish. So those are just a few ways we're trying to reach people so they can find us.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, it's working, because like I said, I found you in 2015, and I tried the Dr. Aaron method for a while, which is a form of steroids. And I felt like I kind of was away from the eczema community and topical steroid community for a while. But when I came back, there was just so much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Representation. And I was like, this wasn't like this in 2015 when I first started this journey. So it was kind of a nice surprise when I started topical steroid withdrawal again, for sure. I just want to, so there were a few questions that people asked on social media, and I just want to make sure we touch on those before we're done. Someone asked about topical steroid use for lichen sclerosis, and I thought that was a good segue to talk about topicals for other things other than eczema, because it still can lead to topical steroid withdrawal. So do any of you have experience with topicals used for something else leading to TSW, or know of anyone or any stories like that?
Just to comment on that, I think that is would be a really common entry point, because that condition you're mostly using on genitals. The genital area absorbs 1 million times more than other parts of the body. The skin is thinner and more absorbent, so you don't even have to use a very high potency to absorb a lot. Same with the face. And so, there are a lot of other conditions. And we did a poll, an unofficial poll, asking what was your diagnosis coming in to TSW. 95% was eczema, but that doesn't mean that's what the whole story is. That just means that our message is reaching the eczema community. Mm-hmm. So I think it definitely can start elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Another person also asked about red light therapy to assist in the healing of TSW. I've never used it, but I was wondering if any of you have, and if you have any advice in that area.
Yes, I have, and I saw massive improvements. So I think when it comes to healing with TSW, everyone's so used to just going to the dermatologist. I think another practitioner to include in the interdisciplinary team is a esthetician. A paramedical esthetician is really, really experienced with understanding how to make a skin function and look aesthetically pleasing as well. And this is something I didn't know until I went to one. She was actually in my ophthalmologist office. Actually, I was getting treated for an eye injury with steroid drops. And then there was a med spa right down the hallway. And I saw that she did certain light therapy on the face. And this was a point when I had those raccoon eyes. Every morning when I would wake up, I would have like those eyelids that like would just stick to your eyeballs. And I was trying to get rid of that. I did not know what to do. And she looked at my skin and she's like, I'm going to treat you like I would treat like a burn victim or someone who has recovered from a chemical peel. And she started to do gentle red light therapy on my face. And I kid you not, in 2 treatments, I have never, the swelling that I had, the Denny Morgan folds under my eyes, I thought I was going to have those lines forever. And they're gone. So I can vouch, at least from my personal experience, that it has helped me a lot. So I am now partnering with her. So she is trying to educate other paramedical estheticians in the field that have TSW people come in. And I'm trying to help her raise more awareness and maybe do webinars so that way they can also assist in maybe providing that treatment. So that's the hope.
I have as well. I'll go on the sense of like, since I've been battling this for about 30 years, through my dermatologist, that was the recommendation. I was the person who went into that little chamber. I had to put the little glasses on. I was completely naked, we turn around. I'm like, this is so much fun. I would come out and people are like, oh my gosh, you're glowing. I'm like, am I? Where have you vacations? Oh, you need eczema, darling. You can't go on this vacation. I'm so sorry. But it treated it while I was using topical steroids. I didn't have the experience that you had. I also, like, when I tell you, if you walk away with nothing from this, if you're not an eczema, like, I don't want to say we're warriors. I think we're thrivers. We're figuring out what works for us. It's advocacy, right? Figuring out what works for you. I had a beautiful board team, and an esthetician, and she looked at my skin. She's like, baby. I was like, I know. So what worked for you with the lasers, or even like when I was going through TSW, didn't work for me. So I just wanted to put that out there. But I love the information that we have so many resources available to us. And if you didn't even consider the thought that like, I can go to an esthetician who specializes in this because they understand skin in a completely different way from dermatologists. And of course, I think everybody, if you're not getting a facial, make sure you take care of your skin, especially on your face, on your décolleté, take care of your body, baby. And I think this is especially, I don't know if anyone else had this. I think Lauren, you did. We should have similar stories. The neck, where I had a lot of scratching. That story was me, honey. When I was like, Lauren, stop telling my story to people. Like the consistent scratching. I would always wear turtlenecks, like in that space.
It was scarves for me.
Oh my gosh, yes. And to be able to sit here with this beautiful panel of amazing people who are just here to help people heal. Come on. So if you are in here watching this and this is not your story, we thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for donating. Hi. Hello, darlings. Hello. And just thank you for just being part of this. So thank you so much. I know we're going over, but I just wanted to just say thank you. I'm so grateful. I'm so honored for everyone's presence. Y'all are amazing lights. Thank you so much for your energy.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for your energy. Okay, we are over time. I'm going to ask one more question, and I want each of you to answer, but with one sentence, and then we're going to wrap up the evening. What's one thing you wish family and friends would have offered you during your hardest moments?
For me, I would say just someone to sit with me. You know that no one can fix it, but you feel so isolated. And sorry, that's not one sentence, but human touch is big. Just the presence of someone.
I would say,
us.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, believe us when we describe how the air is hurting our skin. Yes, that's how drastic our condition is. It's that bad, and please offer, go above and beyond, and don't think we're just complaining. We really do need that help. Even basic things like reaching for a mug in the cabinet, we need that help, and it is so difficult for us to ask for that help. So please help us.
I was going to say almost exactly the same thing. Believe that it's severe. It is severe. It's really hard. Please offer whatever you can, babysitting, meals. I mean, what you would offer someone with a chronic illness. Yeah. I often feel like, people know what other illnesses are. If my son had cancer with this, which I'm not comparing it, just for the record, but just they know what that is. They know how hard and how severe that is. And so that's something that I kind of wish I could go back in time, because I think I let them off the hook a little bit too. I tried to minimize a little bit. I didn't know how bad it was, I don't think, even till it was over. And I was like, what just happened? And so I would just say, believe that it's severe and do something to reach out.
And sorry, Lauren, I do have to interject with the cancer comment, because we do global meetups, and we've had a few cancer patients talk about this, and they said, of course, there's so many different kinds of cancers, but when it comes to the day-to-day of living with a condition, they said that TSW is hands down worse than any cancer they've had. And I was just taken aback. Everyone was taken aback by that. So I just want that to know. I know that the World Health Organization hasn't recognized our illness as a real thing yet, but it's very real.
Thank you for that, Linette.
I have nothing else to really add outside of, I'm not going to look at it from the standpoint of what they could have done, because my family did an amazing job with the information they knew how to support me. But for others who have people around them who may not be necessarily sensitive to this, if you can get some type of therapy and understand how you emotionally heal or get some type of support in that way, because I don't think we've had that conversation yet about therapy, because you have to understand what's happening to you. You have to understand how the other people in your life are showing up, because they may not even understand how to assist somebody who's going through this level of trauma. They may not know, and to forgive them for that as well. So absolutely. I think compassion, understanding for ourselves and for the people in our lives. We require it because we're the ones who are going through it. They require it because they're the ones who are helping us grow in this space. And just have open communication, and definitely therapy. I can't just therapy.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, I would say just thinking beyond your skin. You are more than just your current state, and not losing that part of you that, makes you alive. I know when I was going through TSW, I was no longer my bubbly, outgoing self. I did not feel like I wanted to go out and face the world, and that was not Rakhi. And so having family support you and at least push you, even if you can't move, just not saying comments about your skin, just making you feel normalized for a little bit is really going to help with your mental aspect, because it does take a mental toll.
Yes, so it's clear that we have to have another panel discussion because we didn't have enough time to really get into everything. But please give a round of applause, a virtual round of applause to all of our panelists. Thank you so much for joining me tonight and sharing your stories. I hope that for the people going through topical steroid withdrawal, you feel seen, you feel heard. And I also hope that the people who had no idea what this was before tonight, I hope you understand what it is now. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Lauren. Best of luck with your project.
No sleep, you suck. Insomnia, you suck, no sleep. I've been tired for 5 hours, but I toss and turn and scratch and burn. No insomnia, you suck. So I finally drift off as the sun has begun to rise.